Going on, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple GorillaTag system. What you want to do is you want to start by getting a player right hand velocity. You want to wire that to the vector 3 split. What you also want to do is you want to come up here to the vector 3 split, take the X and wire it to the X on the vector 3 create. And you want to wire the Z right over it. You want to take the Y and wire it to the top of the add chip. You want to take the middle floor chip and then wire it to the bottom of the value. The sum, you want to set that to Y. For the overlap sphere, what you want to do is you want to wire an event receiver update 30 Hz so it's constantly running to the overlap sphere. You want to take the origin and wire it into the player right hand position, and then you want to take your radius and wire it into the bottom floor. You want your floors to look a little something like this, because you're going to need these. And take your overlap sphere on your collisions right here. You want to wire that to the top of your list. You also want to wire the collisions in the overlap sphere to a list get count. What you want to do is you want to wire your list get count to a greater than chip, and then you also want to wire your list get element to a target chip. You want to have your overlap sphere wired to the if, and then you want to have it to where your greater than equals the condition. You want to then have your if chip have runoff then go to if. Wire your collision data get object to is valid. You want to take your is valid and wire it to the bottom of your if chip after the whole greater than and if. So you want to have it to where it gets the local player, set the target. If it's where the then equals the velocity set, you want to take your direction and you want to wire it back up to your vector 3 create right here that you've had wired up earlier with the vector 3 splits and the adds. What you want to do is, because you didn't mess with this, you just left it there, what you need to do is you just need to take your speed, then wire it up to your last floor up here. I want you to go ahead and do that entire system again, but this time, anytime it says right hand velocity or right hand position, you want to do your left hand. You want to do your left hand position. Okay, when you're done doing that, you're gonna have something that looks a little bit like this. Basically, what I did is I just took the system we made up, cloned it down, and as I said before, just changed the left hand positions, the left hand velocity. So let's go over it real quick, so it kind of breaks it down for you to understand. So what it does is it gets the right hand velocity, basically showing you how far you're going to move when you hit the ground. It's going to go into a vector 3 split. It's going to split it in between x, y, and z. Want to have x and z wired up to the vector 3 create. And you want to have y into an add chip, and then you want to have your floor chip that says negative 0.24 wired into the bottom of the add chip. You want to have your vector 3 create wired into a velocity add chip down here, which we'll go back to later. Come over here and you want to have a 0.1 floor chip, player right hand position, so it's detecting where the player's hand is, so it's detecting like if it's actually on the floor or if it's up in the air, so it'll detect if it runs. The event receiver, which is update 30 Hz, is wired to the overlap sphere, detecting if you're hitting any objects. It's basically kind of like a collision for your player's hand. And you want to have the vector of the player right hand position wired into the origin, then you want to have your radius wired into your 0.1 floor chip. And since it's constantly updating, it's going to run through here. What this doing is it's list getting element, and it's list getting the count of whatever object you're touching. So if it detects that there is an object, because if it's greater than 0, because the update 30 Hz is running through all of this, it's going to have the collision gate data object, which is going to detect if it's a RecRoom object to let you bounce off. If it's valid, it'll run through an if chip, which the update 30 Hz is running through this if chip, and as I said before, if it's greater than 0, which is detecting an object, it'll run the condition. And then if that is true, it's going to run this if chip, and then if the object's valid, it's going to constantly run. So then what it's going to do is it's going to get the player, it's going to say, hey, we want to set a velocity to this player. What's the speed? It'll set the speed to this floor chip up here, -1. So you want to have a -1 floor chip wired into the speed on your velocity set. Get local player wired into the target. For the direction, you want to wire it to your vector 3 create. And then just have so this is basically the entire system cloned down. Literally, it's the exact same up above. All you needed to do was change your player left hand position and your left hand velocity. Tubing collisions are weird, so it's not going to really want to let you bounce around on tubing correctly, so